All right, welcome Daystar Youth and Daystar Youth parents. We're so excited to be here with you guys again tonight. This is week number 3 of the live stream where we are basically beginning a conversation that might be tough for some families to have at home, but we're beginning the conversation here so that you guys can continue the conversation at home. So I have some students, like always, to help me with this conversation tonight. So why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourself. We'll start with you.
I'm Grace Reitzel. I am a sophomore at Northern. I have a goat named Pickles.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
If there's any 252 students in the chat and you remember Pickles,
Or
then
Newman.
type Pickles in the chat. Yeah, or new. All right.
I'm Abby. I'm a senior in high school. I go to Northern. I make music, and I lead worship at our youth events and for our youth group, and it's super fun, and I love serving here.
You should love this church.
I do love it.
Because you know your dad's the pastor of this church, so you should love this church.
Right.
Cool. So tonight, the whole topic of tonight's conversation is based around the idea of how we can have more open and honest conversations with parents and with teens, how we can kind of bridge that gap. And so we've got some really, great questions for tonight, but we're starting off with some icebreakers, okay? So the first one, we're going to start with you. What's your favorite holiday and why?
Christmas. I've actually already started decorating my room for Christmas.
Come on.
I'm putting like a big fake Christmas tree in my room. And I've got like
Why
Christmas
not?
lights.
Oh,
I mean, I'm already I'm listening to
It's
Christmas
October
music.
7th, and you've got to
Me
go.
too.
It's already Christmas time
Yeah.
in my mind. Because Corona can't ruin Christmas,
Come on,
Think
somebody.
about it.
Exactly.
Because
Come
it's
on.
a family thing, and
Let's go.
It can't get messed up.
Exactly.
That's so good. Yo,
So, I'm
Madison's in the
ready.
chat. What's up, Madison? Hey, if somebody put Corona can't stop Christmas in the chat, that needs to be a motto. That's so good. All right, so favorite holiday is Christmas. You've already started. You're well on your way. What about you,
Yes.
Abby?
I mean, I completely agree. Christmas is the best holiday. And I literally was talking to Michaela about this the other day. I was like, Corona can cancel summer because it's you close all
Yeah.
the restaurants, you close if people can't go to the beach, people can't go to the pool, but it's Christmas is just a feeling. It's just
Exactly.
That
it's
is
all
so,
month. It's you're at home
Mhm.
and you're drinking hot chocolate and it's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Come on, that's awesome. All right, so here we go. Second one. Let's see. What is? We'll save this one. Did you learn a new skill during quarantine? Yeah, we'll go with you.
Okay. I learned how to braid, and I learned how to take care of farm animals.
Taking care of pickles on the
Exactly.
daily. Let's go. All right, Abby.
I've been trying to think of something. I literally don't know. Well, I said before I watched a lot of Netflix. I don't think that's a skill though. I think everyone.
You learned how to binge watch.
I did.
That's-
I binge watched a bunch of stuff.
I mean, I think that qualifies as a new skill in our generation.
I think so. I also do a lot. I do a lot of cooking. I cooked a lot.
That's definitely a more important skill.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
My favorite thing was anything Asian food, and then you put sriracha in it. It's
Come
just
on, sriracha.
the
Gosh.
greatest thing.
Anything hot, put a fire emoji into chat if you love hot food. I'm obsessed with spicy food.
Me
The
too.
hotter, the better. I
Right. It tastes better.
It does.
Everything is better about it, especially sriracha.
That's how my dad is.
Are you that way? Or just your dad?
Yeah. It depends.
Depends
I
on
guess.
kind of what kind of hot we're talking about.
Yeah.
There is some hot that has no flavor. And it's just hot and
Right,
it just burns your
exactly.
mouth and you can't
Right.
taste anything anymore.
That's why I like
I like
sriracha.
that.
Sriracha, it's just
Yes.
it just makes everything better.
That's good.
Everything.
All right, last icebreaker conversation right here. Yo,
Andrew,
both Andrews in the
Trey.
chat. Trey, what's up?
What's up?
Montrell, what's up? Good to see you
Montrell.
guys. Thanks for hanging out. Okay, last icebreaker. What is your favorite movie
Caesar.
of all time? Oh man. So what's your favorite movie, Grace?
Elf. Still Christmas.
Christmas theme
I'm
goes with
actually
it?
dressing up
Wow.
as Elf for Halloween this year. I'm decided.
You know, I have a certain amount of
going
respect for
all
people
out.
that use the celebration of Halloween to promote Christmas.
Exactly.
They're like, I'm dressing up as a Christmas character. Like
Right.
Santa
Yeah.
is my Halloween
I
costume.
gave
you know?
Buddy the Elf is my spirit animal. His hype for Christmas matches mine.
Oh man, that's awesome. Okay, what about you?
Pride and Prejudice.
Come on.
Okay, that's
Gosh, she's so good.
Yes, Michaela.
That
Why did you move? I went in for a fist bump and he was like,
psych. We've got to go back and like put that on. We're gonna use that as a meme. All right. Okay, here we go. So we got to start the conversation at some point. So.
I remember taking a shot of The Last Dab. Laugh out loud.
Yo. Let's just take a moment
Oh, I
and
wish we
like.
could throw the clip in.
We'll be able to do it afterwards. Afterwards. Okay. All right. Here we go. So we're talking about open and honest conversations in the home, right? So for you, your dad's the pastor.
Right.
So hopefully there's a little bit of that like already kind of in the home, you know, some honest conversations going on, which is good. So just from both of you, I would just want to hear as we start the conversation, like, do you think that open and honest conversations are promoted and available in your home, like where you're able to have them and you feel comfortable having them? Like, what does that look like? We'll start with you.
Yeah, kind of like you said, it's like we were talking before, it was like, obviously, since my dad, like, has led the church so well, and my mom has been a part of that, it's like, because it's like he loves the church, and he's had so, I didn't even talk about this before, it's like he's had so many experiences like counseling people or being like a part of small groups where he's had people share stuff, and it's like he's been able to pour into that. But then it's like it's different when it's like I'm like their kid, you know. And I was talking before, it's like every day, every year when I get older, it's like they're still learning as parents. It's like they're learning every day like something new, just like I am, just about being what it means to like, you know, connect with my parents. And I feel like since they've done so well with like loving the church, when I share something with them, even though sometimes there is like a learning moment where it's like we both have things to learn about like communication, it's like they still can meet me there and like encourage me and pour into me the same way that they have to so many other people, and I'm just really grateful for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you feel like your dad being a pastor and seeing the family dynamic in families in our church, it just kind of helps bring that home like pretty naturally. So
definitely.
That's good. Yeah, I feel like one of the things that your dad said, we had a conversation about this like a while ago, and it was really good where he was talking about like there's a lot of teens that will like, they just freak out sometimes and they lash out and they're yelling and they're screaming and they're just like kind of going nuts. Yeah, super emotional. And and oftentimes people get very upset at that, and they're like, I don't know why my kid's going crazy. But what he was saying is like anytime that like a teenager is like yelling or screaming, like anytime someone screams really, and talking about not just teenagers but in general, anytime someone screams or lashes out like that, it's because they, in their inner being, they have a feeling of I'm not being heard.
Yeah, right.
And so that's a trigger for him where I need to know that I know when I see that I just need to listen.
Right.
I just need to listen, you know. And he said that and it stuck with me, and I've thought about that ever since. I'm like, man, it's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And even when you say that, it's like you talk about like emotions and stuff. That's something that I deal with. It's like I'm a 4 on the Enneagram. My dad's an 8. You're an 8 too.
Yeah.
I feel like I've learned like so much about like conflict with the conversations I've had with my dad and the conversations I've had with you, because with my dad it's more like I'm sharing stuff that's like happening personally with my life, and with you it's like we're like making decisions about the youth group or about youth night, and it's like when I've like learned so much from the way you do conflict. I actually shared this in my Highlands interview. They talked to me about like what I've learned about conflict as a leader, and it's like I've learned so much from you and my dad because you're like so opposite from me, like about how you deal with emotions. And it's like because my dad, it's like he's so like he just wants it to like be fixed. He wants to pour in and like help that, but like I'm like no, like you need to feel, and like I'm emotional, like get on my level. And there's been a lot of like learning there, but I feel like I've gotten to this place with my dad, and even with you with talking about like youth group stuff. It's like where like I know how to share my feelings, but also my dad knows how to like understand my feelings. And like it's like not too much on either end, because you know of course there's like you have to have you know boundaries on both sides, and you have to know where that line is, and I feel like my dad has been really, really good at like understanding that, and he's gotten a lot better at like knowing that, understanding my feelings, but I've gotten better at, controlling them. So
no, that's good. So I feel like even for like y'all at home, maybe one of the things that often prevents you from having open and honest conversations in the home is the emotional side of it. Like emotions from an adult to a teenager often can drastically be different. And I think that one of the things that can be good to take away from this conversation is just understanding that emotions, like, they're not right or wrong, but they're there for a reason, and we have to recognize them, and they just are. So it's like, oftentimes people say, well, I feel this way and that's bad. And it's like, your feelings aren't bad. They're there, but they're there for a reason. We just need to figure out like what led you to feel that. And that's the thing we need to talk about.
Right.
We don't need to talk about the emotion so much. Like, let's figure out like what made you feel that way.
yeah, that's it. Like,
Yeah.
that's where you go, and I have issues like identifying that, and it's
Right.
like you like a lot of
Yeah.
people have like helped me get there. So
Yeah, that's good. And so like my wife's a 4, right? So like we, in our marriage, we have that often. So it's like one of the things that I've learned in dealing with emotions is that like, for me, if Michaela actually mentioned this the other day, she said like if you feel like emotions are not adding to the solution, then they're like we should just not worry about them. But what I've learned is that like emotions, like again, regardless, they're not right or wrong, but they're there. So it's like, let's recognize them, let's talk about them, but let's not sit there and let that be the end. Like, let's figure out like, so you're right, there's a good healthy balance between both.
yeah, Michaela just said emotions are an indicator.
Right. Yep.
Like
so
that's-
yeah, it's almost like a symptom of like, okay, let's figure out what's
the
going
issue.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Grace, what about you?
My parents are split, so I have my parents and my step parents, but my step parents have been around as long as I can remember. They've been in my life. So I'm very lucky to have a close relationship with all of them, so I have support coming from twice as many parents, I guess.
Yeah, that's good.
And just I can always relate to one of them, to at least one of them, or see the same, so it's easy to have those conversations. There's some topics where I have to be kind of cautious with like who I'm talking to, I guess, if it involves the other parents or something.
Oh, yeah. So you've got like some boundaries to work with there.
I have to have boundaries, I guess, in those conversations, but for the most part, I've always been able to communicate very well.
Yeah, so that's good. So you would say that it's very true for you. Like you can have open and honest conversations.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you hinted at though is that like is depending on the topic, that kind of determines like who you go talk to. So what about you? Is that true? Like, are you going to go to your mom about something particular versus your dad about something, what does that look like?
Yeah, I feel like eventually it's always both of them, but I feel like who I go to first is different because my parents were very different. And I'm very like, me and my mom click very well, and so like I'm like always with my mom, and like so if I have something, it's like I'm going to share it. She's kind of like of course she's my mom, but it's like she's like a best friend to me. But there's also like a boundary there where she has to be my mom too. But
right.
It's like there are some things, because like I said, it's like as I've gotten better like sharing stuff with my dad, it's like I do go to him more. It's like because I know he like has my best interest. Like he loves me, and so he wants like what's best for me. And because in the past I feel like I've like in rebellion almost, it's like I wanted to be like, no, like you're wrong for wanting to fix this, because I just want to like sit in it and like be upset about it, and like that's not good to like let yourself do that. And my dad has like helped me in so many ways, like just like being able to fix it, and like being able to like point me in the right direction. And my mom has been really good, just with like really being there and like offering me a lot of wisdom, especially as a woman. It's like she's experienced things that my dad would not be able to experience as a man.
She's
it's
not
like
a woman,
right.
right.
So
to be clear, Daystar, Alan is not a woman.
Yeah, so that's definitely a big thing. It's like there are some things that I do share with my mom that I feel like she understands just because of who she is and what she went through is my age and there are some things that my dad is good at talking about. So I just think it like depends on what it is.
Yeah. I feel like for me, like whenever I go back and think about like growing up through high school and stuff, and even now, like, because it doesn't just stop. Like, I still have parents, right? So it's like I'm about to have our second kid and whatever, but it's like I still call my parents like all the time, and it still depends on what I'm like. For example, if we're trying to do something around the house and I need something like I need someone to tell me exactly how it is, get straight to the point, and just figure it out, I'm gonna call my dad. Like, I'm calling my dad and I'm like, Dad, what do I do? And like, I'm on a time crunch. He's going to tell me what to do and I'm going to go for it, right?
I feel like that's true for like a lot of dads. I feel like that's like the dynamic. Yeah. It's like they're just good at like going in just and fixing it. Right? But my mom is like, she's just like almost like warm and like if I'm going through something really emotionally challenging.
If you need to process,
like,
you'll probably go to your mom.
And then then both of them together, it's like this team where it's like, you can process, but also like, here's the direction, here's the step, like. Yeah,
no, that's good. Okay, so let's see. So, this is an interesting question. So, Grace, what is your biggest fear when bringing things to your parents?
I guess probably like being scared that that they'll take it the wrong way, because if they don't see something the way I do, I don't want them to see that in the wrong way. Like what I was mentioning before, kind of with school, where I have trouble finding the motivation a lot of times because I'm so set on like high school and just school in general. Like, it's a step to get me to my future and to do what God's calling me to do. And I feel like school just, it makes that so hard, I guess, to live like a full life for Christ. And that can come across as laziness to my parents, I guess, depending on who I'm talking to.
Yeah, true. Like, you just don't want to do the work or whatever. Yeah.
And I don't want my parents to see me that way, I guess. Okay. And also, that's good. Once again, like going back to boundaries, being scared to like say the wrong thing or create issues and things like that.
So I'm hearing two major things. The first thing I'm hearing is that there's a fear of being misunderstood. Maybe with them not being able to relate or something, or whatever the case may be in different situations, there's a fear of being misunderstood. And then there's also a fear of like you kind of have a I'm trying to filter this through my own experience too, so y'all we'll work this out, but is there a fear almost of like, I have an end goal in mind or something, or I have a resolution that I need, and so I'm going to bring that to you, but then it could just cause more problems and I'll never get the solution, kind of thing? Does that make sense? I don't know if I just...
it's like you want them to see that you're trying to like get better, but it's not there yet.
Yeah.
It's almost like, it's kind of like, I feel like I've struggled with that with my relationship with God even. I feel like that carries over. It's like you get to this place where it's almost like you're afraid of like, you feel like you have to get it all together and then bring it to them, but really it's like, no, like bring it to them like so they can help you. Like that's who God is. It's like God doesn't want you to get everything together and then go to them. He's like, no, like that's what I'm like that's what I'm here like to help you with. Like I'm like the Bible says that Jesus is always knocking. It's like all the things that we think Jesus doesn't see, like he sees it. Like God sees it. Like it's already in the light. Like just go to him. And like I feel like it's hard with your parents sometimes to like just to admit that you're not, good enough. To admit that you have failed in an area, and that can be really scary. But once you step into that, like even in your relationship with God, it's like once you step into the fact that you have messed up and that you like have failed a little bit, like there's like redemption there's grace, there's love. Like that's what the gospel is. And I feel like that's like, what I see in my parents. Like I feel like that's what God wanted the relationship between a parent and a child to be like to look like the gospel, that when you bring it to them, they have grace and they can be with you through that.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, so like for you, Grace, when you were talking about that, it's like like the fear of being misunderstood. It's kind of like, man, I don't know like the best way to describe this, but like even as we're talking about it, like for you, what you just said, like, you know, the experience that if you relate it to your heavenly Father, it's like, okay, my heavenly Father really, he knows everything that's going on anyway. So it's like, I can bring things because he understands. Like he knows what I'm going through. He knows my inner thoughts, my inner desires. But then when you deal with like your parents, it's like they don't know. Yeah. And I've got to communicate in a way to help them understand, like,
right,
I don't want to make this
That's
worse.
good.
I'm trying to figure it out, and I may or may not need you to fix it, but I need you to process it. Like there's all this stuff that kind of plays into it. And it can be very difficult because then a parent could maybe take it one way or the other, and then you just end up in some trouble or like whatever. It just, you know, it just depends. And they've also, like, one of the things too is that like our parents also have lives themselves.
Right.
Like you don't know what they're dealing with either. It's like they could be going through a super stressful situation at work, and then they come home and it's just like, then you just maybe dump a truckload of stuff on them, and it's just like, I don't have time for this, you know. So kind of like what you were saying, the grace from a parent to a child, there's also a grace almost that is needed for a child to a parent as well, where it's like, it's weird for us to think that sometimes because we don't feel like that with God. We don't feel like, oh, I need to give God grace. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. So so okay, let's jump to the next question. So we talked about what's your biggest fear, bringing things to your parents. Do you feel, this is also kind of like a weirdly worded question, but we'll get through it. Do you feel like your parents can actually help you? Like practically, like do you feel like I can go to my parents because there's help there?
We talked about this a little bit before, like the difference, like of like what, like, I don't know how to say this. Gosh. Like how we're growing up today and high school and social media, like what it's like today compared to like back then. And I kind of wanted to hear what you had to say about it, because basically what I was saying was like it's very different, and I feel like sometimes I share stuff that's very normal today, and it's almost to them sounds like an exaggeration because it's like so like it's so not what it was. Like Eric talks about it all the time, Pastor Eric. He's like, this generation is one of the most anxious and generations like ever, and it's like that's such a jarring thing to say, and it seems like it's not real, but it is, and sometimes it's like there's a gap there. So like, do you think you experience that with your parents? And
as you answer this question, I'm gonna tag on another question to it. So as you're thinking about like, okay, can I actually get some help from my parents? Can they understand all that kind of stuff? Think about the question too of, can they help you, but does your answer play into whether or not they can relate to you? Like, do you feel like, okay, my parents can relate to me, so that means they can help me? Or do you feel like those things are just different?
I feel like they definitely do kind of go hand in hand, and that's the thing with like, I have 4 very different parents. Like they all just have such different personalities, and anyone I go to, I'm going to get a completely different response. Yeah. And depending on what it is, kind of depends on who I'm going to go to first, I guess. Yeah. Because, like, my dad thinks very similar to me. And I guess just more for, like, the support. He's going to support me in anything I do, and he's never going to get mad at me. Like, I don't think I have ever seen my dad mad at me. And he's just, I guess, more the support, and at the same time, like, the practical answer, I guess. But I guess depending on, like, the topic. And then, like, my stepmom, she's, even if she doesn't, like, relate, she will sit and listen and understand. And she's, like, my relationship with her is almost more of, like, a friendship where, kind of like what you were saying earlier, like, there still is that, like, level of, she's still my parent. Right. Yeah. But I can talk to her like I'm talking to a friend, and I can just have very comfortable conversations because she is willing to just sit and listen. And I've never really seen her mad at me either. She just sits and she'll listen whether she understands or not. Yeah. And
That's
then
good.
Gosh, that's so good. Oh my, I'm like turning my head over here because that's just like what you just said. I feel like could possibly bring freedom to so many parents out there, because so many parents, I think, they see this generation, they see social media, they see all this stuff, right? And they think because of that, I can't relate. But what you just said is, honestly, for your mom, it doesn't really matter if she can relate or not, because what's more important than relating is listening. And like
Yeah.
that can probably set some parents free. It's like if
That's
even if you
good.
feel like you can't relate to your student, you can listen. And like so, because you just said like that's kind of what you need in that moment, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It also, like, the house I'm at is very different too. Like, my dad and my stepmom, I think, are a little bit more similar. Where, like, my dad understands and my stepmom listens. And then my mom is very, like, sometimes it is just like a sit and listen, but she's also very like, what are we going to do about this?
Yeah.
And fixing the problem and getting to it. And she picks up on things, I guess. And I have trouble asking for help a lot of times. Like, if I'm struggling with something or going through something, I want to do it
too.
myself.
Yeah.
And I
I totally get that.
I don't want to have to bring my parents into it because I want to be able to do it on my own. And my mom kind of, I guess, sees through that and is like, look, you can't do this on your own. Like, not in a bring me down way, but in a, I guess,
It's gonna help you recognize like
helping to, like, provide the help or get me the help I need,
Right.
whether that can come from her or somewhere else. She just wants to get me that help.
yeah, that's so good.
Yeah. And then my stepdad,
really
he's a
good.
teacher, so I guess he has a very different perspective too, especially with school stuff. And I have a great relationship with all of them. It's just I have all those different perspectives.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, depending on what I need in a situation, I know I can go to my stepmom to listen. I can go to my dad to relate, or I can go to my mom to give me, like, the straightforward answer,
Yeah.
or I can go to my stepdad to, like,
Well, yeah.
kind of say it like it is.
Yeah. Come on, that's so good.
That was
Well,
really
we
good.
are, we're 3 minutes away from ending the stream tonight. So really quick, I want to share with you guys two things that we have for you, and then one thing that you guys can do for us. One of the things that is super crucial for us this semester is our middle school community, because high schoolers are kind of out and about. They can drive, they can work or whatever. Middle school is probably a little bit more confined as far as just the freedom that they have right now. And so every Sunday we do high school watch parties. But if there is a parent or a family that is willing to host a middle school watch party on Sundays, then please email me or text back to the texting service. We get those messages. Email me at parker@daystargso.com. Let me know that you're willing to host, and we'll get in touch with you and we'll figure out the details, and that would be there's a huge need that we have right now. The other two things is that in the description of this video for you guys, all of our parenting curriculum that can be found on the Right Now Media page, which is basically like Netflix for Christians. It's got all the curriculum and the videos and everything. It's fantastic. If you guys want that, the link is in the description. Just hit the link and it'll be a free sign up. Everything's free. It's just a bunch of free stuff. It's awesome. The other thing is our youth weekend experience that is happening November 6th and 7th. If you have not signed up and you are a student, then the link is in the description. Go hit that link, sign up. Sign-ups are open. They're live right now. There's already a ton of students signing up. It's going to be a great weekend. We're super pumped about it.
Please
so
sign
yeah,
up for
go
it.
sign up. It's going to be awesome.
Oh my gosh, we can't tell you how excited we are to do this.
Oh yeah, we're fired up.
To start doing stuff like this again.
It's gonna be wild.
It's gonna be awesome.
So yeah, it'll be a hybrid experience of host home locations that we're live streaming events here, and we're gonna do a lot of super creative stuff within the homes, kind of connecting them. So anyway, it's gonna be a great experience. Go sign up.
And it's completely free.
Yeah, and it's totally free.
It takes 5 minutes to sign up.
Don't y'all love
Not
free
even
stuff?
5 minutes.
Free stuff is great. We're going to give
Super
you all the free
easy.
stuff. And then the third and last thing is that if you are a parent and you would like to be a host home location for that weekend experience, we do have more students signing up than we originally thought would sign up, just kind of at the beginning. So we are looking for more host home locations. If you would like to participate in that, then again, let us know. Respond to the messages or send me an email at parker@daystargso.com. Let's see. I think that we have 0 time left. It's 8 o'clock. So we're signing off. Thank you guys for joining us. You have a great night. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
See ya.